All right, all right. Welcome into the Hoops Rehab Show on a Sunday night, Eric. How you doing over there?
Doing pretty good, man. It's just obviously a laugh because just a ugly game to finish the night. But here we are.
It kind of to be expected when you got a 41-year-old leading the team and you don't have your two other superstars, Luka and AR. You're bound to have one of those games, which they did. LeBron did. They had a lot of turnovers, but we're going to get into that. We're also going to update some things on Luka and AR. When are they going to come back? Terrible injury last night. We weren't on last night, but Anthony Edwards went down. And don't forget, Dante DiVincenzo tore his Achilles as well in that game. But somehow they won and went up 3-1. We're going to talk about all that. Wemby's return. Boston whooping the S out of the Sixers. And those Raptors that I disrespected. Tied up 2-2, Eric.
I know. Can't disrespect him anymore. That's for sure.
So if you guys are in the YouTube chat or Twitter or X, whatever they like to call it now these days, please hit the chat. Let us know your questions, what your concerns about the Lakers or any of the teams kind of moving forward. Let us know. We'll get to them at the end of the show, or at least throughout the show. All right, Eric, let's get this show cracking. So Lakers had a chance, not to make history, but they had a chance to do something they haven't done since, I think, 2010, is sweep a team in the playoffs.
Yep.
And they failed miserably, obviously. He found out Durant was not going to play. Durant's kind of been out for, 3 of the 4 games. Now we found out that he has a bone bruise on top of the ankle sprain. So that's what's kind of limiting factor. That causes a lot of pain, a lot of stiffness in the joint. So it makes everything that much more difficult to get back. Yep. He's out. Did not matter for the Rockets. They were ready to play tonight. Lakers were not. Lakers are ready to go home to LA. I know it's been a long couple games, but this is a game that you got to win, and you did not. And now you have to go to a game 5.
Yep.
Who knows what happens? And you don't want to go back to Houston for a game 6, especially when you got your guys on the shelf. What were your thoughts on the game, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, they got it was as far as them losing, it was an ass whooping. We don't really have to break much down. It just obviously was a tired team, and Houston was kind of bound to have one of these nights. And so I think there's 2 school of thoughts. So the first is Lakers blew an opportunity. They had a chance to finish the series off, most importantly, but also get a tremendous amount of rest going into a big series, most likely, obviously, against OKC. And so did you awake a sleeping giant, right? We know that history will need to be made for Houston to win it. But obviously, with what happened during the end of game 3, it could have easily been 2-2. And then they have the second school of thought, which is probably the most reasonable. Hey, Lakers were up 2-0. They came to Houston to get a split, and they did that. It wasn't a tight game today. Sometimes it's hard to just tougher to lose those tight ones versus just a butt whooping and you kind of just turn the page, move on, and go from there. So that's probably kind of where I'll go with it. The only thing I gotta say though, don't you lose game 5. Do not you lose game 5, because know for sure they are coming back to LA if they lose game 5. You may as well not even go to Houston, because I can guarantee that. So that's the only thing.
Oh, you're saying there's going to be automatic game 7 if we lose game 5?
This is ending in 5 or 7. I'm not going to sit here and say, and Houston will win the series, because nobody's ever done it before. But if you're going to go to a game 7, tough series, and then you're going to play OKC afterwards, just forget about it. Yeah. It's going to be hard enough anyways, but that's down the line. Just got to get Wednesday's game. You're going to have an extra day of rest, like they have had the first 3 games, and we'll just have to go from there. I mean, what were your thoughts? I know you obviously wanted to sweep, you wanted rest, but are you discouraged, encouraged? You can't be encouraged, but
I just thought it was one of those games where you knew from the get-go it was not going to be their night. And, start off shooting pretty poorly. At one point, they were 1 for 10 from the 3-point line. Luke Kennard was 0 for 3. Marcus Smart 0 for 2. I mean, the starters were just atrocious tonight, except for DeAndre Ayton, who went out and got a flagrant 2 foul, which even Ime Udoka said he shouldn't have been tossed out of the game for that. So
Yeah.
There's no here or there, but he was our only bright spot, if you're going to say that. And of course he was on a type of night that it didn't really matter. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So LeBron's your leader, right? And he had 8 turnovers. Like he said himself, it wasn't about our defense. It was about our offense. We were awful on offense tonight, and they got to clear that up because 23 turnovers? Yeah, you're not going to win any damn games with 23 turnovers.
Yeah, I just wanted to look because I think did he have 8 on Friday as well? Hold on, let me just. Yeah, so LeBron had 8 turnovers Friday, 8 turnovers Sunday. So we know that with Luka and Austin out, I think just naturally the turnovers are going to go up a little bit. So not crazy worried if it went up, but obviously at 8, it's a little much. So, and I think he talked about that. I think going forward, that's what would worry me about because usually in the second round and then the third round, it's pretty much you play every other night. You're not going to get that extra day like you gotten in this series, right? And if they don't win Wednesday, another factor is they play Wednesday, Friday, then Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it would be a huge problem if you have a healthy Luka and Austin, but you don't. So that's why I think again Wednesday is imperative. Yep. But would I have liked to sweep? Yeah, but it just for some reason doesn't feel like that happens like for the Lakers often, right? Last time in 2010. And then even before that, I think it was a couple years. Like it just doesn't happen a lot. So I'm not too shocked. But obviously the Ayton flagrant 2, and it wasn't like egregious at all to maybe think about a suspension or anything like that. No. Right. So I think we should be fine there. But yeah, I mean, to start off not hitting from beyond the 3, which they were doing the first few games, and it was just, even though they were only down by 9 at the half, it just felt like more than that. And then Houston obviously just kind of
third quarter got pretty bad.
Got bad there. Yeah.
So going to like the fact that they at least got, Monday, Tuesday of rest and the game is Wednesday, I think that's a huge positive for Lakers. LeBron needs some rest. The whole team probably needs some rest. Yeah. Also gives AR another couple of days to kind of test everything out and see where he's at for game 5. Now, this is also an advantage for Houston, right? Because you're trying to get Kevin Durant back in this series at some point. You would like to extend the series. So if you extended the series past a game 5, that gives Kevin Durant pretty much the whole week to kind of be ready for game 6 on a Friday.
Yep.
So that could be a negative. Now, getting into if they were to lose game 5, that creates the every other day scenario, right? And then you go into a game 6 on a Friday. Then you're turning around and probably playing OKC on Sunday, right? Or it could be Monday. It could be Monday the 4th, but it's either going to be Sunday the 3rd or Monday the 4th. Right? I think that's what it would be. Either it's May 2nd or 4th, essentially.
What I don't know is if they would have finished it today versus Wednesday, if that makes a difference of when it would have started.
Sure.
I was trying to dig all day, trying to find kind of something, but it was what I kind of heard was it would probably start on Sunday. If let's say Lakers would have won today and OKC would have wins tomorrow or whenever they play, I think it's tomorrow. I think it would have started Sunday. Now, if Lakers win Wednesday, I mean, it could still start Sunday.
I think it will. They'll probably have the Sunday prime time game. And even if they went on Friday, I wouldn't doubt it would start on Sunday as well. Like maybe it could be the Monday. They could do a Monday, but it could be the Sunday too. Now, possible. But that creates that every other day scenario for pretty much in the whole second round against OKC. And then now let's get into the injuries that we're dealing with, right? You're still trying to get Austin Reeves and Luka back. Now, Austin Reeves has gone through a couple of pre-games, warm-ups, kind of workouts before the game, and just hasn't, I wouldn't say he hasn't felt right, but he's not ready yet, right? I listened to JJ's press conference before the game, and he talked about how Austin, it's not just the physical part right now, it's the mental part. Like, is he ready to play, right? Like, mentally, does he feel confident in himself or confident that the injury is past him? And that's a huge thing when you're coming off an injury, right? Especially like an oblique injury. You may feel like you can get to every move, but then you're in second quarter, third quarter, and kind of been a little bit fatigued. You may stretch out, make that one play to kind of steal the ball. And then that's when you kind of feel it, right? So the more time he gets, the better. And that's why closing off the series and then kind of going until, Sunday or Monday would be a good thing. Now, same thing when you look at Luka. We got the Luka update. Luka's update was that he's doing some movement on the court. Didn't really specify what movement, but it's better than the stationary stuff that he's been doing.
Yeah. Like
so nothing. He hasn't. We saw that video. Really was what he was doing essentially. He hasn't been moving much. And when you look at a typical returner play protocol, especially with hamstring injuries, you start with stationary, then you start with some movements, then it comes to 1-on-1s, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, right? That whole ramp up period is typically 10 to 14 days. So if we look at a calendar, right, and say they start on May the 3rd, as a week from today. Yeah. So essentially he likely misses game 1, 2, and possibly game 3. Maybe comes back for like a game 3, right? Like, unless you say he can fully be ready for game 1, which is 7 days away from now, 7 or 8 days away from now. I don't know if he's ready for that. Yeah. And I can't guarantee that. I don't think anybody can guarantee that. So he's possibly missing, 1, maybe 2 games in the OKC series. Yeah. Pushing his to say that 2-week level, then he misses probably 3 or 4 games in the series, right? If he can't really ramp it up by that 2 weeks. What are your thoughts kind of about what I said about Austin, what I said about Luka?
Yeah, I mean, I guess first Austin, I have been thinking about what the decisioning is. Is it because of the situation they're in, right? Obviously, on Friday, they were up 2-0. Tonight, they're up 3-0. But we talked about it. We felt like, hey, if he was good to go, he should play. So obviously they felt he's not quite there. Like you said, it could be the mental game a little bit. And as this series stretches out, the importance of him coming back is going to be larger and larger. So I'd like hopefully to see him, come back Wednesday. I do know sometimes when you bring someone in, it could kind of, I don't know, mess things up a bit, but we're obviously going to need a guy like that. I mean, because Lakers should advance, right? And so I would rather have at least a guy that has a little bit of playing time before an OKC series versus having 2 guys that haven't played in a while and come back in that series.
Sure.
Which will be Luka. And then on the Luka side, yeah, I mean, it's obviously a little bit encouraging kind of what's going on with him having a little bit of activity. But, man, it just kind of goes to show that this is going to be pretty daunting. If he doesn't come back to a game 4 or 5, it might be a wrap by that point anyways. And it's just it is what it is. Like I would not like Luka to come back in the middle of a playoffs in a damn series with OKC, but that's where we're at right now. Obviously, right? There's no other option other than him just shutting it down. But yeah, we'll see when we get there. It'll be telling when it starts, because let's say if this goes 7, the series.
Oh, Derek, stop that. Don't even put that in the air right now.
Then it would be Sunday, game 7, and then the series would start Tuesday.
Which and then gives him a little bit more time. No, I'm joking. But yeah.
No, terrible. But then it also gives Jalen Williams more time too, right? So
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Lakers should handle business Wednesday, and then maybe it'll start Sunday or Monday, most likely.
That's a good point with Jalen Williams. I would say they are probably on similar time frames. Based on he's a grade 1, which is usually that 10 to 14 days of kind of healing time.
Okay.
And then that's kind of where Luka is right now too. So gotcha. I would figure they would be back similar times, and unless they're kind of pushing Jalen Williams' timeline out because of his previous injuries with the hamstring on the right side. That could be possible too, right? So we don't really know a full timeline with them, but we know it's a week-to-week type of thing. So should be interesting to see who gets back first or who's most affected by that as well. Now, I saw a commercial today. I don't know if you've seen it. It was kind of in the background. I had the commercial on mute, but it was a Luka Doncic commercial. And it was talking about deceleration and how he decelerates, kind of, pen step back, deceleration, step back, deceleration, and had like a deceleration meter on there. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I'm not really sure what it was about. I got to go back and look at what the commercial was. But I found it interesting because that's what the hamstring does, right? So he needs to do that a lot in a game. I know we talked about he's not explosive, but that whole, stop on a dime, step back, kind of go back is
shiftiness, right?
And it's kind of what he got injured in, right? When he was kind of trying to step back and kind of stop on a dime and then get into that move. He has to be able to do that 100% confident in his hamstring. So when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I know he went to Spain and I know he got stem or whatever he got in Spain. Doesn't necessarily mean that's going to speed up his healing time. It just means that hopefully the tissue is maybe better quality at this time than it would be naturally healing, right? But doesn't mean that he doesn't have to deal with the confidence and mental load of trying to do those type of moves, and not having that fear of it, tearing on him again or re-aggravating it. So I found that interesting to kind of see because I was like, you know what? Like his game is a lot of that deceleration. Same thing as Austin Reeves.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, like if with that 3 to 6 or 4 to 6 week time frame, it looks like he's going to be coming back around 6 weeks, right? So maybe that procedure or whatever he had done, it wasn't obviously to get him back sooner because that hasn't happened. It was maybe person that doesn't do that at 6 weeks versus person that does do it at 6 weeks. Maybe there's just a little bit more strength there. I mean, you know, true, obviously. But at the end of the day, kind of like Austin, it is that mental game too, Yeah. So.
And you're not coming back in a regular season. You're coming back in playoff. Yeah. It's a totally different level. I thought today, if Austin was ready, today would be a perfect game to come back because there's no pressure. Right? It's 3-0. You can come off the bench and play. But he wasn't there yet.
I know.
I think even game 5 is a little bit of that too, because you really just need to win the game. You're up 3-1. You're not too concerned unless you obviously lose that game. But I think it's an opportunity for him if he's ready to play some minutes in a meaningful playoff game in game 5.
Yeah, that's true. Because if tonight would have been decent, just because like there really was zero pressure on the Lakers tonight. Obviously Houston was the one that had to win that, and so that must mean he's not ready. But hey, maybe another few days we'll get him there, hopefully, because he's obviously close. But we'll I'm sure again it's going to be kind of like a find out Wednesday late afternoon kind of thing. So we'll have to see then.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll get updates as soon as we do throughout the week because we'll be on most days. But some unfortunate news came out of Minnesota today.
Tough.
Anthony Edwards. Well,
yeah.
We'll get to kind of what I tweeted yesterday about the injury.
It'll be worse.
Was that there's two kind of scenarios, right? One being a worst case scenario, one being a best case scenario. Essentially, he got the best case scenario, which was a bone bruise. And that's something that typically happens with a hyperextension injury because how far the bones kind of go back and they kind of hit each other. And that causes the bone bruise. Now, hyperextension injuries look terrible. Right. Every time we've seen them, it looks like their knee exploded. We've seen Giannis, we've seen AD, we've seen obviously Ant do it last night, and it just looks awful.
It looks worse than the other injuries. You know, it almost looks worse than an actual ACL tear.
For sure.
In a lot of cases.
For sure. And they're typically usually in a lot of pain. Like, you just see how like painful it is. You can't even move. It's just a lot of pain because the bones are hitting, right? But typically they don't cause an ACL injury, right? And I put that as a worst case scenario because sometimes you can't see the rotation when the hyperextension happens. So in order to kind of tear your ACL, you do need a little bit of rotation in the tibia and the femur. And that's what causes kind of that ACL tear. So a lot of times you see in the knee kind of shifts or the knee kind of buckles in or anything like that. That's usually that rotation that they get. So in a hyperextension, it usually just goes from front to back. And so a lot of times it's either the joint capsule gets stretched or you get that bone bruise. Now, time frame wise, though, Shams reported that he's going to be out multiple weeks. Yeah. We don't know what that is, right? Whether that's 2 weeks, It's 3 weeks, 1.5 weeks. We really don't know. It's a matter of how his body feels and how his knee feels. It's usually a pain tolerance issue. As we talked about with Kevin Durant, he talks about how bad the pain is with the bone bruise, and that's something that you can't kind of play on. So that puts him, well, Minnesota still has to get by Denver. They lost their whole backcourt, right? So is going to go back to game 5 in Denver, which is, Denver's struggling, man. Like, they have their injuries. Aaron Gordon does not look like himself. He's playing through a calf injury right now. Joker doesn't look himself. He's getting kind of stumbled by Rudy Gobert, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in that series. But say the Minnesota advances and they get to the second round, likely he's out till mid part of the series to the end of the series, essentially. Yeah. Which is unfortunate because how well they're playing, and he obviously lost Dante for the whole year and probably next year. It is just an unfortunate scenario there in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a Minnesota fan wants to get through the series and then maybe try to make some noise early in the series next round and then hopefully get Ant back. But just kind of as of like a person of interest that wants to watch a good series, me, even though Denver's had their troubles, I would say if you're down 3-1, it's probably like one of the, I don't know, like one of the best chances, I guess, if you will, to come back from a 3-1 when something like this happens. I do see them getting game 5. And I think for Minnesota, it's all going to be about that game 6, right? And so, luckily for Minnesota, they just got to play really good in one game. They just got to get one of these 3 games, have a outing like they had the other night, and move on. But yeah, it doesn't mean Denver's obviously doesn't mean the coast is clear from them because of all the things you said. Aaron Gordon injured. Obviously, they're still kind of banged up in general. Don't have the depth that we thought they were going to have. Michael Porter Jr. not being there, I think, even though it's been a year since he's been there, I think we're seeing kind of
huge
some of the effects of that. So yeah, Denver's they're in a tough spot. I personally thought they would be going to the Western Conference Finals. Didn't see this coming. I knew they would be in a tough series with Minnesota, though. That I knew because they've always played tough series. I just thought Minnesota was I thought they were banged up before this. I mean, now it's really bad. I thought they were like kind of reeling, so it was going to be tough, but Denver was going to move on. But now with this, I mean, hey, you're up 3-1, you just got to get one. I'm just worried that this next round it's going to catch up to them, right? Maybe like for the Lakers too against OKC. I don't know, but I think when you tweeted last night, I tweeted, man, like, can we go a day or two without an injury? It doesn't sound like it.
It's terrible right now. Like especially in the first round. It seems to happen a lot in the first round, and then typically it settles down as the later rounds go. But it's just unfortunate to see. Like nobody wants to. I don't want to report on these injuries. I just want to see playoff basketball and see the stars that are there. Yeah. So it sucks to see. Now, just quickly before we get to the next topic, what is it about Minnesota that they just step up in the playoffs the last, obviously 3 seasons and are such a better team in the playoffs than they are essentially in the regular season? It's like we always, like last year, Lakers wanted to play Minnesota. This year, Denver kind of wanted to play Minnesota. What is it about them that does it? I mean, I know their defense is great, but is it coaching, Chris Finch? What do you think?
I was going to say, I think they're very long, athletic, and obviously talented. And it doesn't mean they're not that during the regular season because they are. But sure. I just think, I don't think it's the best thing to do. But I think that defense turns up like a couple notches, and their athleticism and length take over. And so, it's kind of a weird phenomenon because they've shown to do the same thing the last few years. This year, we'll see where it goes because of the injuries. Yeah, if they were pretty healthy, facing a San Antonio team, I would be like, hey, it could be anybody's series, right? Especially just knowing the things they've been doing. Maybe a Rudy Gobert kind of bugs Wemby just enough, right, with the size.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and they have the experience the last couple of years, right? So
yeah. So I think it's a defense that turns up a notch or two. That's probably the difference.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what happens tomorrow and see what Denver does, but crazy series to kind of see what's going on.
Yeah.
All right. Talk about that Wemby guy. Wemby came back tonight. Came back from concussion. And I went to get a haircut. I'm watching the game. It goes to halftime. I'm like watching the game, getting a haircut. I'm like, damn, like, they're kind of struggling. Portland's up. Swear to God, by the time I got home, what in the hell happened in the third quarter? Wemby goes ape. He just goes crazy out there. And you got, what do you have? 7 blocks, I think, or something like that. I think he had 7 or 8 blocks.
He probably did, but he had so many other, like, oh my God. Like, honestly, I can't say that we don't watch San Antonio games every day, but I very closely watch this one, and he affects every single possession when he's out there, offensively, defensively. So take a look at his blocks, because he probably had a lot of them, and I know he
7
did.
blocks.
7 blocks, but the amount of times that a player won't drive because he's in there, or the times that he alters a shot, that's like, so these things don't go on the stat sheets. The stat sheet is just crazy. And so it's funny because when it was going to halftime, they were down 17, and he had this like little smirk that it's like he knew like what was about to happen in the second half. And literally they went on a 13-0 run. I think in the first 3 minutes of the second half.
Yeah.
So it went from 17 to 4, like 3 minutes. And so once it got to that point, and then for them to be up 20 something all of a sudden, man, they're here. It's not one of these things that, hey, look out for them in the next couple of seasons. Like, look out for them now. And it's just going to be even scarier the years to come, to be honest.
Yeah, they're scary, man. They're
really good.
They're heads and heels above where we thought they would be. Their time is now.
Yeah.
Wemby is the real deal. He's going to be, like you texted me earlier, he is the face of the league and will be the face of the league pretty soon if he's not, right? So he's just literally taking over slowly. Now, I wanted to get into some comments he made after the game about the concussion.
Yeah, saw that.
We all saw, like, in what I said, kind of like he should be out a week, things like that. That's more just like my medical background, me being a physical therapist, like what I've seen with players coming back from concussions. Now, he got through the first 48 hours, was able to travel, and says he was ready to pretty much play game 3. And it wasn't up until about an hour before the game that kind of like the independent NBA officials essentially said he couldn't play. The Spurs kind of cleared him. He doesn't want to get into details, but he said there's some really kind of messed up things that happened. He said he's going to get into details in the offseason, so that's kind of interesting. But it looked like the NBA pretty much didn't allow him to play. Now, I feel that was fair by the NBA. I don't know all the details, but I feel like 72 hours after a concussion, stretching that out a little bit more is a good thing. Like most players don't really come back that early. I know in the NBA is a little different than the NFL, but I feel like there should be a little bit more time, a little bit more grace there. Now, what were your thoughts kind of when you heard that?
Yeah, I think sometimes the NBA has got to protect the players kind of from themselves, and maybe even the organizations from making like a wrong decision. And so the NBA is a brand; they have an image to uphold, and if something happens to him by coming back too early, it just probably wouldn't look good.
Yeah.
And so it's probably a little bit of that he's going to talk about when their season's done. And like you talked about, like obviously every person's different. Like hell, he could all of a sudden get some big headaches tomorrow. And it could have effects later on.
Sure.
So I think it would have been, I think that what they did was smart. I think the Spurs should have been probably the ones to kind of be the ones to shut him down for game 3 and then maybe pending game 4. But obviously it's turned into a little bit of a story since he kind of hinted at his display, his kind of like not believing or not wanting to kind of believe that the NBA would actually not have him play. Right. And so, that's kind of my thoughts. I mean, obviously he's back and he's going to be playing the rest of this series, but I will be tuning in to see what he says later on.
Yeah, I mean, it shows his character and where he wants to be with his team, right? Like he wants to try to win at all costs, and you got to value that, respect that. But I felt that he needed a little bit more time as well. So Well, it'd be interesting to kind of see what that all meant and what really happened.
Yep.
All right. So going to the next two games, Boston pretty much just destroyed Philly, and that's with Joel Embiid returning after the appendix surgery, which he was out for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, did Boston prove to you what type of team they are? Now that they have a pretty strong command on the series.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of mentioned a couple days ago, and maybe if someone's a fan of Boston, they probably like, oh, we're kind of hating a little bit. But I was just, kind of saying like that. I thought those teams in the past were a little bit better just because they have a lot of more experience together. Now, Boston, these two games, I mean, if you look at a lot of their series the last few years, there has been a lot of times where they've lost a home game and they've really been good on the road. Like this exact scenario, losing the first two in Boston and then winning the two on the road. It's happened a lot. I personally think for Philly to have gone anywhere, they really needed a healthy Embiid, but I think it kind of screwed them up in this game because they actually played a pretty good game 2 and 3. And I understand like, you're not going to just like, oh, not play him. Right. But I really, honestly, when I heard he was playing, I thought Philly had less of a chance to win. And it's not that he played terrible or anything like that, but I just think it ruined just the flow of how they've been playing the last two games. But you know what? Regardless, Boston may have won anyways, and that's probably what their thought process was. But yeah, I mean, Boston's for real, obviously. They're going to make a joke out of this Eastern Conference. I still think the Knicks, who bounced back nicely last game on Saturday, I think that'll be a very competitive series with Boston. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And I think it will be that. But yeah, I mean, Boston's obviously really, really good. They shoot a lot of 3-pointers. If they're making their 3-pointers, they're going to win. If they're not, you have a chance. I mean, that's just how it is. That's what they are. So.
Yeah. You made a great point about Embiid. Just kind of, it just not that it ruins the flow, but it's just hard when you've been playing a certain style without him.
Yeah, with those guards.
I was surprised by the amount of minutes he kind of was playing. So I thought maybe they would kind of, lessen his minutes, let everybody else who's been playing together play a little bit more, and then kind of integrate him a little bit more into it. Especially in the first half, third quarter, pretty off. Like I think he started the field. I think he was like 3 for 12 at one point. Started making shots towards the end in garbage time, which doesn't really matter. But that series is essentially over, Eric. They're going to Boston, and they are not going back to Philly.
Yeah, Boston.
I can. What does Charles Barkley say? Guaranteed that they ain't going back to Philly at this point.
Yeah, it's a wrap on whenever Game 5 is, and so they'll be resting up for the winner of Atlanta, New York, and that'll be that
for sure. All right, so let's get to a series.
They will be going back to Toronto, Cleveland. That's for sure.
That will be going back, and I seem to have disrespected the Toronto Raptors. If there's any Toronto Raptor fans, I apologize. Mm-hmm. I said this series is going to be over. We didn't really need to talk about it. But the young Toronto Raptors, Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, all these, they got that young rookie as well, is doing really, really, really well for them. They came back in the series, and to me, that says more about Cleveland and what they've been all season. Essentially, they got James Harden, and it felt like that improved their status as a team. But Eric, what does James Harden do in the playoffs?
I think, yeah, we know. Well, yeah, he's had some disappointment. We'll leave it at that. And I think we underestimated Toronto, but we also overestimated Cleveland because the last few seasons they've had these like kind of clunkers and losing the series they shouldn't lose, losing games they shouldn't lose, and then now you throw James Harden in the mix. That's I'm not going to say he's just been awful because he did lead, Houston team to the Western Finals. He's obviously part of the OKC team when he was young, but there has been documented struggles with him. And so when you put those two things together, this is what could happen. Now, I believe Cleveland is still in control of the series. I mean, they go back home to Game 5. we obviously know that's going to be pivotal. But they kind of messed around, and Toronto probably feels they can win the series now.
Yeah, I mean, to have a game where, Evan Mobley gets you nothing.
I saw those stats. Yeah.
Jared Allen gets you nothing. They had 8 and 3 points respectively. You're not going to win any games like that, right? So they have to have those guys playing well. That's what their advantage is. They're big guys, their size, the pick and rolls, the pick and pops, things like that. To me, man, I know they got into a struggle and it was a defensive game, but when they become more of the ISO ball dominant with James Harden, that's when you can get stagnant on your offense, right? When things are flowing a little bit more and the ball's not just stuck in his hands, they flow better, right? But sometimes that happens with the James Harden type of team, right? You're gonna have these nights where this happens. So let's see if they can correct this and get into Cleveland and win Game 5. But Toronto has a momentum right now, Eric. They could go into Cleveland and win Game 5 and then finish it off in Game 6. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a complete shocker. I mean, I would expect Cleveland to win, but then again, you would expect them to win today. And to be honest, it kind of looked like they were. I mean, the last few minutes, they were up 7-8 points, and all of a sudden you look and you see that it's tied, and Toronto just stepped up defensively. Cleveland scored, 89 points? So obviously they just were not in sync. Yeah. And let's see if going back to the crib will kind of turn that for them.
Yep. I will tell you one thing, Eric. If I see a Toronto or Orlando second round series,
we will not talk about that series on the show.
I'm telling you, I don't want to disrespect, but
we will not talk about that. I'm sorry, Orlando and Toronto fans.
I can't be talking about that in the second round.
Please.
It is not that I don't care if Cleveland gets there. Right? Toronto could win and do all that stuff, but I at least have to have the number 1 seed in there, like Detroit or something like that.
Yeah, I won't be in love with Orlando, Cleveland either, but
you have an 8 and a 5. That is just outrageous. Boston will be sitting there. Pretty much, the finals for them will be against New York or whoever they can play. Atlanta. We can't discount Atlanta right now, but. Could you imagine right now, just a scenario, Eric? Detroit, Toronto, Atlanta, and Boston are in the Final Four. And this is
it's reasonable.
If you look at it right now, it's pretty damn reasonable.
Yeah,
you got 2 series that at 2-2, and you got 1 series that's 2-1 Magic.
Yep.
So, I don't know. It's the NBA. I love watching it. I love to see these teams do it. It would just be something else to see those teams in the Final Four.
It would be something that probably we don't want to see, but it's possible. And I mean, likely maybe one of those don't happen, or 2 or 3 or whatever. But it's. I mean, talk about easiest road to a finals if that were to happen. But we'll see. Still a lot of game left. So, please, Detroit, go into Orlando in Game 4. I think it's going to be tough, to be honest, but. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be a repeat of, I think it was like 2003. I think Orlando was up 3-1 against Detroit, 8-1. I think it was like Doc Rivers was the Orlando coach, and Detroit did come back and win the series though. But that kind of reminds me of that for some reason. Well, maybe because it's the same teams, but
let's see what Detroit's made out of. I really don't like the way they've played this whole series. It's been pretty damn awful. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, Eric, before we get out of here, anything else before we sign off?
That's it. Enjoy the games the next couple of days and see what happens on Wednesday.
Yes, we will be on throughout the week. So we'll see you guys soon. But for now, Hoops Rehab team is out, you guys. Peace out.
Peace out, everyone.